Breaking news. $4,700 stimulus checks? Hold on to your hats, America. Well, folks, it seems the US government has finally decided to spice up our lives with something wilder than a Taylor Swift ticket drop. That's right. We're talking about a potential $4,700 stimulus check hitting bank accounts sooner than you can say inflation. Yes, you heard that right. $4,700. Now, before you start practicing your best Scrooge McDuck swan dive into a pile of cash, let's unpack this, shall we? Because as with most things in life, especially when it comes to the government and your bank account, the devil is in the details. And believe me, there are details galore. This news, if true, has the internet doing what it does best, freaking out. #Bernie Blitz is trending faster than a Kardashian on a coffee run, and everyone's got an opinion. Some folks are already planning their dream vacations, hello Margaritaville, while others are bracing for the economic apocalypse. But hold your horses, folks. Before you start maxing out your credit cards or building a bunker in your backyard, let's take a deep dive into this potential cash bonanza, separate fact from fiction, and try to understand what this all means for you, your wallet, and the future of our fine nation. Buckle up, buttercups, it's going to be a bumpy ride. The Bernie Sanders Midnight Special. How did this happen? So how exactly did a bill promising more money than most Americans have seen since the invention of color television magically appear overnight? Well, it seems our old pal Bernie Sanders, the man who can rock a pair of mittens like nobody's business, has been busy pulling a legislative rabbit out of a hat. According to the whispers swirling around Washington, and by whispers, I mean the frantic, barely coherent screams of political commentators, Senator Sanders seemingly exploited a little-known, rarely used loophole during a late-night Senate session. Picture this. The clock is ticking past midnight, most sane people are tucked away in dreamland, and a handful of bleary-eyed senators are slogging through what they thought was just another routine vote-a-rama. Suddenly, bam! Bernie drops this bombshell of a bill on the floor, leaving his political opponents about as prepared as a pack of toddlers in a spelling bee. It's a move straight out of the How to Win Friends and Influence People playbook. If that book was written by a caffeinated Machiavelli on a deadline. Now, whether you think this was a stroke of political genius or a sneaky power grab depends on which side of the aisle you tend to sit on, or, more likely, which side of the aisle you threw your beer at, during a particularly heated debate about the proper way to grill a hot dog. Show me the money. Who qualifies and how much can they get? Okay, let's get down to the nitty-gritty, the part you've all been waiting for. The cold, hard cash. Who exactly qualifies for this potential windfall? And how much can they expect to see deposited in their accounts? After taxes, of course, because Uncle Sam always gets his cut. The bill, as it stands, targets households earning under $75,000 per year. Now, before you start celebrating or despairing, there's a catch, because again, there's always a catch. This benefit phases out as you climb the income ladder, disappearing entirely for those making over $100,000. So, if you're living the high life on a six-figure salary, congratulations. You can sit back, relax, and enjoy the show, because this particular gravy train ain't stopping at your station. But for millions of hardworking Americans struggling to make ends meet, this $4,700 could be a lifeline, a chance to catch a breath, pay down some bills, or maybe even treat themselves to something nice for a change. A $120 trillion shopping spree, who's paying for this thing? Now, I know what you're thinking, $4,700 checks for millions of Americans? That's gotta cost a pretty penny. And you'd be right. We're not talking about loose change found between the sofa cushions here. This is a $120 trillion injection straight into the heart of the American economy. So, the big question is, who's footing the bill for this massive spending spree? Well, according to the bill's proponents, Reed Bernie and his merry band of economic revolutionaries, the plan is to fund this behemoth through a combination of temporary tax increases on corporations and high earners, reallocation of unspent pandemic relief funds, because apparently that's a thing, and cuts to what the government deems non-essential programs. Now, I'm no economist, but even I can tell you that juggling numbers of this magnitude is like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube blindfolded while riding a unicycle on a tightrope. One wrong move and the whole thing could come crashing down. Section 5. Inflation on steroids? The economic crystal ball is cloudy. Inflation, that old chestnut. It's the economic equivalent of your weird uncle who shows up uninvited to family gatherings, always lurking in the background, threatening to ruin the party. And let me tell you folks, with a stimulus package this size, the inflation alarm bells are ringing louder than a fire alarm testing day at a school for the deaf. Experts are divided, as they often are, on whether this cash injection will send prices skyrocketing faster than a SpaceX rocket launch. Some argue it's just what the doctor ordered to jolt the economy back to life, while others predict a future where we'll need a wheelbarrow full of cash to buy a loaf of bread. The truth, as usual, probably lies somewhere in the murky middle. But one thing's for sure, buckle up, buttercups, because the economic roller coaster is about to take a wild ride. Section 6. Political earthquake supporters rejoice, critics cry foul. Unsurprisingly, this surprise move has sent shockwaves through the political landscape, splitting the country, as if it wasn't divided enough already, into two camps. Those who think Bernie deserves a Nobel Prize for economic wizardry, and those who are building effigies of him out of their tax returns. Supporters are already planning victory parades, hailing this as a long overdue win for the little guy, a sign that the government finally remembers they exist. Critics, on the other hand, are crying foul, accusing Sanders of everything from grandstanding to economic sabotage. They're calling this a reckless gamble, a socialist power grab, and a surefire recipe for economic disaster. Meanwhile, the White House is doing what the White House does best, remaining tight-lipped and hoping this whole thing just magically disappears. Section 7. Don't believe everything you read, navigating the sea of misinformation. In this age of instant information and social media mayhem, it's more important than ever to be discerning consumers of news. And let me tell you folks, this $4,700 stimulus story has all the makings of a misinformation masterpiece. The internet, as usual, is having a field day. Memes are multiplying faster than rabbits on Viagra, conspiracy theories are spreading like wildfire, and everyone and their dog, literally I saw a chihuahua with a Bernie for President bandana, has an opinion. But before you hit that share button or join the latest Twitter war, take a breath, put down your phone and engage your critical thinking skills. Is this information coming from a reputable source? Does it pass the sniff test? Or does it smell fishier than a seafood market after a 3-day power outage? Remember folks, knowledge is power, but misinformation, that's just plain dangerous. Section 8. Will it stand? The looming shadow of legal challenges. Here's the thing about laws, especially ones that involve trillions of dollars and millions of people. They tend to attract lawyers like moths to a porch light. And this $4,700 stimulus bill is already attracting enough legal challenges to make even the most seasoned attorney blush. Critics are lining up to take a swing at this thing, claiming everything from procedural irregularities to outright unconstitutionality. They're arguing that Senator Sanders pulled a fast one, exploiting a loophole that wasn't meant to accommodate a bill of this magnitude. Whether these challenges will succeed remains to be seen, but one thing's for sure, this legal battle is far from over. It's going to be a long, drawn-out process with twists, turns, and enough legal jargon to make your head spin. Section 9. A sign of things to come, the $4,700 question, and the future of America. So, what does this all mean? Is this $4,700 stimulus package a sign of things to come? A harbinger of a new era of economic policy where the government throws money at problems with reckless abandon? Or is it just a blip on the radar, a desperate attempt to appease a restless and increasingly frustrated populace? Only time will tell. But one thing's for certain. This entire saga, from the late-night legislative maneuvering to the heated political debates and the looming legal challenges, has exposed the deep divisions and anxieties plaguing our nation. The $4,700 question isn't just about the money, it's about the role of government, the future of our economy, and the very soul of America. It's about whether we can come together to find solutions to the challenges we face, or whether we'll allow ourselves to be torn apart by partisan gridlock and economic uncertainty. So, buckle up, buttercups, because the ride's just getting started. And trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next.